based on the title, I'm pretty sure you guys could tell that if it wasn't obvious already, I didn't like the Rise of Skywalker. Now, normally when I do these videos, I practice and I try to see that, hey, maybe I can do something to make better quality content. You know, I especially do that whenever I review my stuff, like my helmets and, my lightsabers. Even though I haven't done that in a while. You know, I just got a new one, but I didn't bother to review it because I bought it used on eBay. And whenever I review things, I prefer something that's, never been used before and something that's, straight from the source that made it. But I digress. I really did not like the Rise of Skywalker. And look, what I'm doing right now is nothing new. Everyone does it. Everyone gives their opinions about when something comes out, and they normally do their reactions. They give feedback, give reviews. Now, I'm not that kind of person. I just do stuff that I'm comfortable with. Hell, I do everything from my phone when it comes to editing and just recording. It's simple, but it works, and people appreciate whenever I do reviews on stuff. But this is like the first time I'm actually doing a review on something regarding to like a movie of a series, because I love Star Wars. Like it's pretty fucking obvious. I got this thing together. I tried doing something a little different. Hell, I got this mask. I've cosplayed Star Wars for years. I've loved Star Wars, and I'm always trying to find best ways to make the most out of my love for Star Wars, and attending conventions, loving the games, loving the lore, even if they're not canon anymore. I still love all that stuff, and I naturally did what every hardcore fan does when there's a movie of a particular franchise that's popular. I dressed up. I literally went to the movie theaters. I took pictures with a few people, and honestly, it was fun. And when I got to the actual movie, I was bracing myself. Now, I lit up my lightsabers and I started doing a prayer to God, ironically. And I'm like, Lord, please make this a good movie. Please tell me that the leaks, that the negative reviews, all this somewhat spoiling stuff that's appearing whenever I browse through social media or just the internet or YouTube, please tell me like it's all fake. Please tell me that people are just overreacting. Everything was true. It's all true. Like Han said, everything. Let me tell you how I feel about the sequels one by one. Force Awakens, I enjoyed it. Yes, it was a safe movie with copying A New Hope, but I still liked it. I was very interested to see what they're going to do. And I'm pretty sure everyone generally in the fandom, even with the criticisms that there were, we still generally love The Force Awakens. We're optimistic for the next movie. And The Last Jedi, I don't need to explain what the problem with that was, and that pissed me off. That annoyed me. That pissed me off. The Rise of Skywalker, I'm just disappointed. I'm not even upset. I'm just disappointed. I don't know who is to blame. I want to say Disney, but I want to say the CEO of Lucasfilms. I want to say that JJ Abrams fucked up. And, guys, honestly, I didn't know how much this movie could improve from The Last Jedi. Like, considering what they had to come up from The Last Jedi, you knew that the moment that they brought in Palpatine in the first trailer for The Rise of Skywalker, you knew that they had to pull that out of their asses because Snoke was killed off. Now, I'm not saying that, it will prevent it from this movie being bad, but we have to be honest, The Last Jedi did put JJ Abrams in an awkward position. That being said, however, this movie had problems. There was so many inconsistencies. The continuity stuff, some stuff they try to explain, they just waste some of the characters. Like, first thing, Kathy Fisher, she passed away. God rest her soul. So they had to make do. I'm not gonna get upset over that. They did what they can. Luke, I wish they did a little bit more with Luke, because again, they just give him a cameo. And Han in the leaks, it said that he came back as a ghost, and I was getting pretty upset about that. But thankfully, from what Kylo Ren claimed when he interacted with him, it's just a memory. But it's like his as if his consciousness is trying to reach out to him via his good side's trying to reach out to him in the image of his father. So I like that. You know, it's not a ghost, and he doesn't even look like a Force ghost. It's just like he's there, and you can tell. And he even Kylo Ren even explains that it's, you know, just his memory. And you know, Lando, I love seeing Lando. Like, I was pretty happy. Maybe he should have interacted a bit more, but I digress. The problem with this movie is that it's terrible with pacing. Everything feels rushed. Everything, it just doesn't connect well. It doesn't flow together. I felt like way too many things were happening at once, and that everything was structured poorly. Like, some things should have gone in better order. For example, like in the beginning, they immediately show Palpatine. Like, I wanted to build up to that. I wanted to get, you know, into the feeling that, hey, like, oh man, we're gonna see Palpatine soon, aren't we? And we all think to ourselves, like, hey, maybe Kylo Ren's gonna be looking for him, and that he'll just hear his voice, but it doesn't actually show us Palpatine's state. And you know, they immediately, right at the very beginning, they just show you everything. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why they would do this. Why can't you just like get us anticipated and like continue to build up? Like, yes, we already know Palpatine's in this movie. We already know that. Even if you didn't see the leaks, you know, the trailers are made pretty obvious that he's back. And you know, like, it just doesn't make sense why they would just immediately put that in front of your face. Not only that, everything after that point especially, it just like rushes. It keeps like overfilling and overdoing a lot of stuff when it comes down to how we get to one scene to another. And it's confusing as to why they continue to like rush and push things into a certain direction. Not only that, some of the characters, how they give reactions, not all of them feel like legit. Like Rey, for example, sometimes I couldn't help but be bothered by the fact that her reactions were not natural. At least, like, you know, she did what she could, but I guess because we don't really get a chance to like comprehend and weigh in on the situation as the movie progressed, everything just happens, and there's a lot going on. And there was potential. There were plenty of moments that I did enjoy, but the issues that this movie had just overshadowed all that stuff. And you know, as you progress through the story, like, you know, you see Rey training. I think finally they're giving her training. Oh, she's levitating really high. She's moving rocks around her. I'm thinking like, okay, well, at least she's been trained with Leia. And again, even before what this movie showed, we always had a feeling that Leia was trained. Like, even in Return of the Jedi, and you know, what we saw in the Last Jedi when she did that Mary Poppins thing. It's like, okay, you know what? Me personally, I thought, okay, there's probably an explanation. It's not far off from the idea that she did actually train to be a Jedi. You know, we never saw it, so I am pretty annoyed about that. But hey, at least I can find it believable because this is Leia, the twin of Luke, the daughter of Anakin. And you know, like, I was pretty happy what they were able to do with Catherine Fisher. Like, again, they had to use shots from The Last Jedi they didn't use, and they had to improvise on a lot of scenes. So they did what they could. You know, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. They did the best that they could with that situation. That being said, there's just a lot of stuff that contradict one another. And, you know, as the movie progresses, you begin to wonder, like, why are they still forcing humor in the wrong timing? Like, guys, when you see videos of people breaking down, like, strong critiques of breaking down The Last Jedi and what the problem is with it, one of the biggest issues is the comedy. Like, the comedy comes at very poor timing, and they keep trying to force it in every single situation. Like, the situation with C-3PO, like, guys, okay, like, yes, I get he's an annoying guy, no one likes him, but I never felt like any emotional attachment nor to the situation of what was happening to C-3PO. And again, this movie tried doing a curveball where you think like his memory is permanently wiped up, and then, but no, like R2-D2 reboots everything, C-3PO to what he was before he actually went on the mission. And you know, watching the way how the story progressed, again, like I don't feel as emotionally invested as I should have. The only time that I felt really emotionally invested, at least what I can think of at the top of my head, because, you know, I literally came out of the movie theater and like 20 minutes ago, and I'm just not like sitting back and comprehending everything. This is literally straight right after the movie. I felt a lot of passion and actual emotional investment when Chewie was upset that Leia died. Like, yes, that's believable. You know, I wish they put more emphasis on that, you know? And it's like, oh man, Chewie like just lost Leia too, and you know, he was very close to Han, and you know, even before Han and Leia were a thing, Chewie was close to Leia. And you can tell how emotional distraught Chewie is, and the treatment they give to Chewie, like at one point when you think like Chewie died in the transport when Rey uses Force Lightning, I was literally like in the theater like, are you kidding me? And I thought to myself, did they actually kill him? And then somehow off screen, like it shows he was actually in another transport, and I think to myself, okay, good. They didn't actually kill him off. Like it had me going for a second because I was legitimately like, that was like the first instance where I wanted to walk out because I was just really concerned by that point, like if they're just going to keep disrespecting the original characters. And the longer I watched, I started to get my hopes up for some moments. I keep thinking like, okay, maybe it's gonna get good. Maybe it's gonna get good. And then it starts showing off this conspiracy that hey, there's a spy within the First Order. And then you see to this point that the spy turns out to be what's his name? I'm sorry, I can't remember his name at the moment. General. I apologize. I honestly cannot remember his name at the top of my head right now. I'm just like a lot of stuff's going through my mind with this movie. But if you know but you should know who I'm talking about automatically. But yeah, the fact that he was a spy, I thought, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. I thought it was going to be this, other guy that was kind of leading up to be the actual spy himself. And then when I read the motivations, I thought, okay, yeah, he doesn't like Kylo Ren, so that's why he betrayed the First Order. And then they just wasted him. Like he's automatically killed. When the others escape, they automatically just kill him off. And I'm thinking to myself, is that really it? You just kill him off? What a waste of a character. First in the Force Awakens, you had him as this character that was pretty supposed to be intimidating, someone we should be afraid of or be concerned about for our heroes. And when they crucify him or character assassinate him in The Last Jedi, just made him a running joke. I kept thinking to myself, okay, how's he gonna do? Maybe he's gonna do some badass things. He frees them. He says like, hey, I don't want Kylo Ren to succeed. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's an understandable motivation. He really does not like Kylo Ren, so it's gonna lead to this. And then they just kill him off. Again, I feel that was another example of a character wasted. Maybe they could have done a little bit more with him before he died, but they decided to kill him off. And and I'm pretty sure you noticed I'm not going 100% in order of the structure of what's going on in the movie. I'm just reading off the top of my head. And the reveal that that Rey's grandfather was Palpatine, hence why she's so strong in the Force. A lot of us saw it coming. It was already a theory for The Last Jedi that she was the granddaughter of Palpatine, and I thought to myself, okay, that would explain her strong abilities with the Force. And I actually do like the theory that she's Palpatine's granddaughter, and the fact that it did come true, even if it took the Rise of Skywalker to confirm it. So I was pretty happy about that. I thought, okay, yeah, there we go. Like I think that's a cool twist that she's Palpatine's granddaughter, and we get more idea of parents. Hell, there's been theories that Kylo Ren purposely did, and those theories turn out to be true, that Kylo Ren misled her by saying like, yes, your parents were nobody, but your grandparents were somebody. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, this was a spot-on theory, and it's believable. So a good amount of us saw it coming. At least that was the theory that I was on regarding who Rey was if Snoke wasn't actually Palpatine. I didn't even think Snoke was going to be Palpatine, even though he's more irrelevant than ever. And speaking of Palpatine and Snoke, like in the beginning of the movie, they immediately show that Snoke is in some kind of tube or clones of Snoke. Like I'm thinking that maybe they came from Palpatine's DNA, or maybe they literally create throughout the movie you can tell there's some kind of a Sith cult and loyalty idealism that rivals the First Order. Like for some reason in the Outer Rim on this remote planet, Palpatine was able to maintain a lot of followers within the remnants of the Empire who became the First Order, and then this other faction of Sith, and I'm talking about like not particularly the Force willing, but like the culture of the Sith Empire. I'm talking about like Knights of the Old Republic MMO, where you have various people who believe in ideas of Sith. So hence you see the Sith stormtroopers, you see Sith logos, you see like all this stuff that, yeah, they're all Sith, but it's not because they're Force-willing Sith, they're just part of the Sith empire and culture. Not the Redskin people. Again, if you play Knights of the Old Republic MMO, then you know what I'm talking about. This is literally just, rivaling the Empire or the Republic side. especially if you play the games. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, okay, cool, Sith. And again, that was some of the stuff that I was interested into. But they don't bother to explain a lot of stuff. They don't bother to explain like how Luke was able to, or the Force Ghosts were able to influence like things physically. You know, at one point in the movie, Rey throws Anakin's lightsaber, and Luke catches it as a ghost, and he even does stuff with the Force. And again, in the last movie, we saw Yoda strike lightning. And I feel like with the Force Ghosts, they missed a lot of golden opportunities. Like, during the climactic scene when she's going off against Palpatine or trying to recover, you hear every single relevant Star Wars Jedi that from the movies. You hear Obi-Wan, you hear Luke, Yoda, you hear Qui-Gon Jinn, you hear Anakin. Like, you hear like familiar voices. Like, they all come at once saying like, yeah, now she's connected to the Force. In fact, in the beginning of the movie, her training is that she's trying to connect with the Force Ghost, and it's kind of weird that she needs this training in order to try to communicate with the ghosts. I think like the whole idea was to show like maybe she can call out them at will when she needs to reach them, and they didn't just come to her. How when she sees Luke's ghost, it has to be back at the place in the last movie where she found him, and you know, there are moments like that where I think, okay, yeah, I'm glad we're seeing some training, but by this point it doesn't matter because she's already had like all this success. Like, you know, the bar that she needs to aspire to, you know, she gradually builds up over time, and you know, they try to put like problems in her way where it could be like, okay, yes, maybe she's not so much of a Mary Sue because, you know, she does deal with a lot of problems and we become more invested in her. Maybe she does have flaws. They kind of blend it together where she struggles and she has a lot of difficulties, and the only reason why she succeeds is through just luck on certain situations. For example, the reason why she beats Kylo Ren is because Leia was about to die and she called out to him and distracted him, allowing Rey to stab him and pretty much make him lose the fight. And not only that, Rey has this unique ability where she's able to heal. And if you've been watching The Mandalorian, spoilers alert, we've seen that with Baby Yoda. And, you know, it makes me think like, hey, okay, cool. So I can somewhat believe this because she has been, because they are showing that she's training with Leia. I mean, she's floating and meditating. She has rocks around her. She's doing an obstacle course. She even says at one point, hey, I don't think I deserve to have your brother's lightsaber, you know. Luke's, whose lightsaber is actually Anakin's. And then it just goes through all these motions of what's going on to where you think, okay, so, you know, she thinks like maybe she's not ready to hold a lightsaber. Maybe she's not ready for the responsibility. Okay, that's good. Maybe we can see her a bit without her lightsaber. But nope, Leia just gives it to her. Again, maybe this is just a circumstances where they're just trying to make sure Rey has a lightsaber, and we just have this situation where they're just trying to make the most out of Carrie Fisher and what the footage that they still have. And you know, as I watch the movie, I start to think like, hey, okay, things are building up, Kylo's conflicting, and then the Knights of Ren, like, I'm really disappointed. We finally get the Knights of Ren, and there's this scene that annoys me near the beginning of the movie where him and the Knights of Ren are like walking across the ship, and then some stormtroopers are like, Knights of Ren, and then one guy's like, cool, or something like that. And I'm thinking like, we know it's the Knights of Ren. It's pretty fucking obvious. You know, you don't need to insult us. Even though there are kids watching this movie, if they're watching Star Wars, they know who they are. They know who the Knights of Ren are. We've seen images of them. We have an idea. We can think, Knights of Ren, you know? Like, I felt insulted by the way how this movie thinks they need to explain everything to us, like, in certain aspects like that. Like, you know, show, don't tell. Like, have the troopers kind of like glaze upon them and then feel somewhat intimidated, or just like the Knights of Ren just gain their attention. Not only that, the Knights of Ren didn't really do much. Like, barely. I'm thinking like, come on, these are the guys that helped Kylo Ren destroy the Jedi Temple that Luke founded, something along those lines. I was not intimidated by them. You know, when we first see them in what was it, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, when it's like all raining for them through that Force vision, and they're all like intimidating in all their dark clothes, I'm thinking like, oh man, what kind of crazy powers can these people do? What kind of lightsabers do they have? Do they even use lightsabers? Turns out they don't use lightsabers, even though the Knights of Ren are supposedly like these group of warriors, and I was under the impression that were Force sensitive and had abilities with the Force. But then I thought, okay, maybe we're gonna see some really cool badass scenes, but no, we don't. Like, the closest badass scene we get is when Kylo Kylo finally turns because his mother passed away, and his memory of Han convinces him like, hey, you need to do what's right. You're not. This isn't you. Kylo Ren's gone now. You're yourself. And when Kylo Ren gets a lightsaber and is able to fight them, I'm thinking like, I thought they put a better fight, or they might be better prepared. And they always have the same weapons. And another thing that bugs me in this movie, and this is kind of explained at a certain point, that hey, the reason why there's some kind of teleportation, or as you know in the Last Jedi, when he was trying to reach out for Rey, and there was rain water on his glove, it's to show that there's some kind of supernatural or a space-time force effect going on. And as you watch the movie, you see that being amped up to higher levels, where it's like, really, like that just happened, and it does a good illusion. And then you're thinking to yourself, why is this happening? Why does this happen? This needs to be explained. And Palpatine, when he's kind of like going all to the climax, where he's saying like, never have I sensed such a strong connection between two Force readers as you two. So it may be because their bond is so strong, and the fact of who they are and what their heritage is, and the fact thus they have such a high connection and a high power within the Force itself. This is possible. So I wanted to say that maybe this is one of the reasons why we didn't see this before. Maybe this was unique circumstances with Rey and Ren, because of who they are and their heritage. Like they have only few rare circumstances like this where there's attachment and a bond that, hey, we can see this. Like their connection is so strong and they're so in tune with the Force that this happens. Ren must have learned this through his connection with Rey in the last movie, and even though he killed off Snoke, he somehow found a way to connect them by his will, or at least certain times. And not only that, like I was just kind of disappointed with the climax too. Like the sword fighting was good, I liked it, but like I thought when it said the Rise of Skywalker that we're gonna see Kylo Ren maybe and Rey have like an epic battle with Sidious, and when Sidious somehow realized because there's a strong connection, he can kind of use their life and Force energy to restore himself. He pretty much heals himself, and you start to see the familiar, intimidating Dark Sidious. And again, because of his personality, he prefers lightning. And if you know anything about the lore from the expanded universe, both Legends and canon, he doesn't really care for a lightsaber. There's not even an indication there was lightsabers nearby, but he's just doing all the lighting stuff. He's doing all the stuff. He's like dominating them. There's the build up. Not like that, I remember at one point that Rey has to use both Luke's lightsaber and Leia's lightsaber. Yes, Leia does have a lightsaber, and I was disappointed that it was blue and not yellow. Like if you ever played the Force Unleashed 2, or I think it was the first one, if you play a special alternate universe with DLC, like she gets a yellow lightsaber, and I think that's really cool. How they do a cool nice interesting flashback where Luke and Leia actually fight each other, and Mark Hamill's face is CGI to show a younger version of him, and that looked good when I saw it. Then they do that to Carrie Fisher, and I thought to myself, wait, they say they're not gonna CGI her, but I guess they just mean like they're not gonna add her in new scenes that they never shot. Like this was just a CGI to show like, hey, this was them when they're young. Her face in the CGI moment where it shows like her young self is worse than what we saw in Rogue One. Like I like the one in Rogue One. It was a lot more convincing, even though some people are nitpicking it. This one looked obviously fake. It was not as convincing, and I was pretty disappointed. And all this leading up to Rey defeating Palpatine, it pretty much had a build up where he restores himself with absorbing their energy, and then he's like doing all this Force lightning. And I think, okay, we're gonna have an epic battle. What we're gonna see, and nope, it's like a lightning. He's shooting all of his lightning into the air, disrupting the battle. Again, I'm not going that much into details because this video is getting long as it is. The climax of the battle, all this stuff happens, and I think to myself, wow, man, the fact that he has that much raw power, like I believe that because it's Sidious after all, and if he's restored, like I can believe that because again, I've watched enough Star Wars lore to believe that Sidious is capable of doing something like that, especially if he's rejuvenated as he was. And then Rey being pushed and enforced to use both lightsabers in order to hold back Sidious. And I'm thinking to myself, what would have been epic? Rather than just purely just hearing the voices of some of these Jedi characters, why not see them as ghosts? Like Palpatine doesn't need to see them, or maybe it's just in her mind, but we need to see more older characters and cast members just being like there. You know how awesome it would be if Anakin was actually there, and then you know, just him saying, giving a lecture, or maybe have some kind of influence. This movie did not really feel like it respected Anakin's sacrifice or what his legacy was. Like, you just hear him say, and again, this is in the moment where she's connected to all the Force ghosts and the stars. It just shows space, and you're just hearing all their voices. It's like, you can restore the balance like I did. And I'm thinking like, okay, come on, is he going to give a cool speech at least? But nope, it's just all of them muffling after that. And then I'm thinking to myself, why did you waste this opportunity? You need to make it like, you know, showcase that you respect the older generation. I mean, come on, the actors and even JJ Abrams had problems with The Last Jedi. And, you know, when I heard about that and I saw these interviews, I kept thinking to myself, they're going to fix this. They're actually going to do some more good, but they wasted a lot of good opportunities. And, you know, in the end, when Rey actually buries Leia and Luke's lightsabers, I'm thinking, okay, that's a nice thing she's doing. Like, she's keeping them and leaving them the legacy of these sabers alone so that no one else can use them. Because I thought it was a good idea. I thought, like, yeah, now she'll get her own identity. And boom, there you go. She gets her own lightsaber. Or, you know, she uses a bit from her staff and gets a yellow lightsaber. I'm like, yes, thank you. She's got her own identity now. You know, like, she's not using Anakin's lightsaber. She's got her own lightsaber. And, you know, this looks really cool. And then, you know, when Traveler's, like, walking by to where she is, and Rey is pretty much at where Luke used to live, and she's just pretty much just burying the lightsabers there. When she wants to say her name, she looks to the distance, and she sees Luke and Leia. And I'm thinking, like, wait, where's Kylo Ren? Where's Anakin? At least have Kylo Ren there. Like, you know, it's a Skywalker family, right? Because, guys, Kylo Ren, he fucking becomes one with the Force. I know I skipped over that. After Rey pretty much redirects all the lightning back at Palpatine, Palpatine explodes, and it creates such a bad effect with all this cultists and all this stuff. And, you know, she dies apparently. Like, you can tell she's dead. She doesn't blink. She's just like there, like with the face of death. And, you know, Kylo Ren, who was kind of like subdued to a certain extent, is like recovering. When he sees her down, he sees that she's like dead or right there at the point of death, and, you know, he uses the Force to heal her and revive her. They share a kiss, and I'm thinking like, okay, we kind of saw that coming. And then, you know, they're all laughing, they're happy, but then he passes out, and then, you know, Rey's concerned, and you think, okay, maybe he's just exhausted. And then, nope, he becomes one with the Force. And I wonder, when he was going to sacrifice himself, I thought it would be done in a better way. Like, it's good that he saved Rey, but it just feels kind of like, it's like another curveball. Like, when I saw Rey, like, dead there, I'm thinking, oh my god, they actually killed Rey. Like, that's fucking amazing. And, you know, I didn't think they actually had the balls to do that, but, you know, they're making her a martyr, and, you know, that's pretty amazing. I didn't think they had the balls to do that. Like, that's pretty fucking crazy. And it's like, nope, Kylo Ren's gonna save her. Oh, okay, so, yeah, both of them are alive, and they can, nope, now Kylo Ren's dead. And don't get me wrong, I did like Kylo Ren's development to a certain extent, but I feel like they could have done more. And look, guys, this video's not long enough. I'm just disappointed with this movie. And I pretty much spent most of this video just talking about the movie and what bothered me and what was it, but I just had to vent out about how I feel. I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed in Disney. Disappointed in JJ Abrams, especially what he gave us with The Force Awakens. Again, maybe it's not 100% his fault. Like, The Last Jedi did kind of fuck him over, especially with the plans and the actors and he himself. Like, they obviously hinted that they weren't really pleased with how The Last Jedi went. I can't say for sure that had The Last Jedi went in a different direction, that Rise of Skywalker would have been so much better. I really can't say that. I don't know what went behind the scenes, but I'm really disappointed with this film. Do I consider it to be worse than The Last Jedi? Well, it depends. If, say, next week or next month or next year, am I gonna be as disappointed with this movie as I was with The Last Jedi? More? Maybe less? I don't know. All I know is that this movie was so dissatisfying to us fans. We got fucked. Again, I'm not saying anything special. I just needed to voice because I felt the need to vent. I definitely recommend people to do this. You know, just get your phone, just you know, videotape, just record yourself just talking about it and venting, and just be honest about yourself. I'm just so disappointed that I'm not even angry, and I feel like it's only right that I express how I feel because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I live for Star Wars. I literally love Star Wars. Look at that, and I got this lightsaber. Super cool. Crimson. I got this one. And then I got my first. And I love Star Wars. I know there's plenty of you out there who definitely have more Star Wars gear than me, and I know this is not really nothing, but I think it's just to stress the fact of just how much Star Wars means to me. And what Star Wars means to me and what Star Wars means for everyone. I'm 29 years old. I've lived a long life. I've traveled the world. I've met so many people. I've met other fans. I've met people who are always asking me about Star Wars. Like, I lived a long time, and this is one of the most disappointing experiences of my life. Like, you know, I actually, funny story, I was actually supposed to see this movie a little earlier today, but I got called in to work on a Friday, which was supposed to be my day off, and I'm in the military, and you know, some shit happened, and they decided to keep us there, even though we didn't have any actual reason to be there. At least I didn't, and a group and people from my department. And you know, I had to actually cancel a date, and then I think to myself, well, this sucks. And then, you know, I get off like 2 hours later from when my day was supposed to start, and I think to myself, well, you know, it's pretty disappointing. But you know what? I'm still gonna see this movie. I really need to see this movie because spoilers on the internet. And you know, I think to myself, wow, this would have been a shitty date. This would have been so disappointing because she's also a Star Wars fan, and you know, I don't know how to break this to her. And you know, I'm disappointed. You know, I do wonder what could have been if George Lucas still kept his hold on Star Wars. I'm pretty sure we all missed a touch. And if you looked at stories regarding his what his script was originally, you would know that, hey, this guy had some interesting ideas. We don't know what was the full extent, but I do miss George Lucas. I do miss some of the works, even despite the issues that the prequels have. I'm just disappointed, guys. I love Star Wars, but we're stuck with this now. This year, I was high hopes for Disney and Star Wars. The Mandalorian series has been amazing. Like, the first season's about to end next week after an awesome cliffhanger that happened just earlier this week on Wednesday. You know, Jedi Fallen Order, I was so happy to get a game like that. I'm like, thank you, yes, this is the games we need. And you know, I just got Battlefront, like the Celebration Edition, because after looking at videos on YouTube about 2 years after, and I saw how much better it was, I immediately downloaded the game, and I'm happy with it. I had such high hopes for Disney. I thought, yeah, they're gonna top off with the Rise of Skywalker. And you know, I'm just really disappointed. Like, I'm heartbroken. You know, I'm wasting my time because this is nothing new what I'm saying. I just want to be honest with you guys about how I feel, because I feel like we should all record ourselves just being honest about how we feel. It doesn't have to be as loose or crazy as me. You know, you can be as structured and well detailed into your reviews and more professional. This was literally just me coming back from the movie theaters and just, you know, being honest about what happened and how I felt. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm just disappointed. I'm so disappointed. I don't even want to comprehend and break down detail by detail of why I would rate this out of 10 or out of 5 stars. Like, I'm that disappointed. I don't know if I can actually critique this movie without being so biased. It's really difficult. Maybe at one point in the future I will, but I'm not going to do another review or afterthought regarding this. But I'm really disappointed, and I think that says it all. Anyway, guys, I'm glad you guys took the time to look at my reaction. Like, I know it's not the best, and I know there's a lot more credible Star Wars YouTubers out there, but I just really need to be honest. Throwaway out.